Urgent. China has resumed precautionary measures and reinstated mandatory mask wearing out of fear of coronavirus 2. This is the kind of headline you'll start seeing everywhere in the next few days, either in this exact form or slightly modified. They all carry the same message. We might be heading toward another lockdown because of a new virus, HMPV. So how accurate is this? And should we be worried again? Let's address this before it spreads, as always. First, let me tell you that there's a considerable amount of truth to this claim. A virus called HMPV, Human Metapneumovirus, is indeed spreading widely right now. Its symptoms include coughing, fever, sinus congestion, runny nose, and sometimes difficulty breathing or wheezing, a whistling sound in your lungs when you breathe, like there's a small hole in the airflow. Does this sound familiar? Exactly, it's like the common cold because that's what it mostly causes in mild cases. It affects the upper respiratory tract. However, in rare cases, it can progress to the lower respiratory tract, causing bronchitis or pneumonia. But that's the same as what the common cold can do if left untreated, right? Right. So why all the hype? Why the masks, talk of coronavirus 2, overcrowded hospitals in China, and so on? Let me explain. China has a population of around 1.4 billion people living in about 9.3 million square kilometers. That's roughly 391 people per square kilometer. Can you imagine? Imagine just one person carrying this virus, which, like the common cold, is highly contagious, sneezing in front of 2 or 3 people. Each of those people sneezes on another 2 or 3. How quickly will it spread? This virus has been known since 2001. That's 24 years of familiarity, not a new discovery. But you know what didn't exist back in 2001? The internet in its current form, where anyone can make claims, scare people, or spread misinformation, sometimes without understanding, sometimes with deliberate intent to cause fear or stir controversy for attention. What about claims that this virus has no treatment, just like COVID? I'll tell you this, unlike bacterial infections, no virus has a direct cure. Your immune system is your only defense against viral infections. All the medications we take address symptoms, not the virus itself. Even vaccines or antiviral treatments, like flu shots, work by training your immune system to recognize and fight the virus when it shows up. Viruses mutate every time they infect, which is why your body doesn't fully recognize them, and why you get colds year after year, regardless of what medication you take. Since HMPV is a virus, like the flu, the common cold, or COVID, it follows the same rules. We treat the symptoms. Stay hydrated to avoid dehydration, manage the cough, one of the toughest symptoms, and rest. In fact, you may have already been infected with HMPV before, especially if you were under 5 years old at the time. Compare its symptoms to what you or someone close to you experienced in the past month or so. They might match perfectly. It could very well be HMPV or something similar. Why is it most common in young children or the elderly? This virus specifically targets children under 5 and adults over 60. What do these age groups have in common? Weak immune systems, whether due to lack of exposure in children or aging and fragility in older adults. Of course, even a young person with a weak immune system can contract it. The first time is usually the hardest. If it's your first encounter with the virus, the symptoms might hit harder. But as we've learned from COVID, basic preventive measures like social distancing and hand washing are essential. What's happening in China is entirely normal. A seasonal viral infection spreading in a densely populated country. This happens every year. However, after COVID, such outbreaks are taken more seriously, especially when a large portion of cases involves children under 14. This is a respiratory virus, so masks help minimize exposure to droplets and airborne particles. Given China's massive population, it's also no surprise that hospitals are crowded. So, should we be scared of HMPV? No, unless someone you care about is under 5, over 60, or has a weak immune system. They should take extra precautions. For everyone else, It's a typical cold virus that can be managed with standard treatments for its symptoms. I wanted to share enough information to reassure you and give you a clear picture of what's happening in China. Don't let every post scare you. Understand the situation for what it is. Finally, not everyone knows the details I've just shared, but now you do.